You're listening to Azeroth Times Classic. I'm Chris, and Brandon's with me again.
Partially.
Yeah. Well, glad you're here. We didn't do a show last week because somebody had a family emergency, so, family comes first. So,
Yeah.
we're going to start off with some news. I'll let you go first because mine's a doozy.
Because yours is a doozy.
Yep.
Alright, well, let's see here. Uh, I haven't really done much more than what I have been doing. Mainly running 25 and 10-man Old War each week. Kind of working on tank gear, working on DPS gear when I can get it. We did the 10-man that I run now is only lacks Memoron hard mode and Yogg one light in order to have all the hard modes down for my 10-man. Big thing was our 25-man finally downed XT on hard mode the other night.
Woohoo! All right.
And we were 2 seconds away from getting Hodir on hard mode.
Oh, 2 seconds.
Yes. So,
Hey,
and then we gave Freya.
That's an accomplishment.
It is. And then we gave Freya some attempts. So we're going to start progging her a little bit more.
How's your Thursday night raid going?
Yeah, that's a good one. Like I said, my 10-man has gotten everything except for Memoron and Yogg one light.
Woohoo!
So on hard mode. So we're slowly getting through it. We haven't attempted Algalon yet, but that's a big just has to do with your comp.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of waiting until we can get the right comp in the 10-man. But other than that, that's about all I've been doing. I've been working. I did get the Paladin to level 80, and kind of started working on the gear on him. I think he's 3,000 something gear score, so I'm working on that. And then I guess I'm gonna start bouncing back and forth between my hunter and my rogue. Start leveling those up. Maybe the rogue next because it's already 70. I just have to work on the spec and figure out kind of what I want to do with him for sure. Gotta do some research. But other than that, that's about all I've been doing.
Yeah. So, I guess you're ready for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get an email, and it says that I got account closure for exploitative activity, unauthorized cheat programs, and in parentheses, hacks. And so my account was closed for use of unauthorized cheat programs, also known as hacks or bots. These programs provide character benefits not normally achievable in the game and detract from the integrity of the World of Warcraft game environment. Now, I do not know how they think I did anything. I'll give you my reasons here in a little bit. But, yeah, so I appealed it, and they more or less just said, nope, upheld it. Let's see, what does it say? I understand you're looking to appeal a recent action placed on your account after further investigation on this account and the penalty applied is determined this action will be upheld. So I've contacted them a couple times since then saying, hey, I got another account. I don't want this to happen again. What do I need to do? Because I'm not running any cheats or hacks or bots or whatever. And they said, this penalty has already been upheld. Any further requests on this topic will not be reviewed. So I said, I just need to know. And still, this penalty has already been upheld. Any further requests on this topic will be reviewed. So I ran a antivirus, and I had some viruses on my computer, cleaned it up, changed. As soon as I first got that, I changed my password. And the only other thing I could think of was my son can't read. He's 5 years old. Well, actually, he's 6 now. And I let him get on here a couple times. And mainly it's just, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom, make dinner. I need you to run over here or whatever, or just do whatever. Mainly it's just running. And there's been a couple of times where I came back to the computer and somebody was whispering and said, hey, you need to check your bot, you're stuck, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, no, my son was playing. He goes, yeah, good excuse. No, I've already turned you in. I'm like, no, it's the truth. My son was running, and apparently he got stuck. And he was stuck. He was running like against a tree at this one time I'm talking about. And so I'm getting tired of him whispering me about it, so I blocked him. And then somebody else whispered me, said, hey, my buddy was talking to you about you running your bot, and he said something, and so I blocked him. And I even made a ticket against those two people because, no, I'm not doing anything, and you will not leave me alone about it. And after like a month, it said that they took action on it or something, but I don't know. So they have proof that, hey, I was getting harassed, and so I don't know if they had a lot of complaints on him running his, because I did a lot. I'm like, hey, I'm headed this way. I'm gonna go get you something, or I'm gonna go in the bathroom. I need you to run over here, and yeah, sometimes he got stuck. Or if one of the viruses were done, or was doing something, I don't know, but my computer's clean. I want to get it fixed, but they won't listen to me at all. And I just need to know so my other account will not get hacked. Or I don't know if it was hacked, or I don't want my other account getting banned, is what I meant. And so I'm even scared to get on my other account right now. Because I don't know if there was something running in the background that I don't know about. But I think my antivirus would have picked it up, which it probably did, because I had a few things on it. So, I don't know, but I got a permanent ban on my main account that I do everything on. Good thing my other account that I turned on previously, I already had a couple of 80s on there. So I can still do some stuff in the game. Like I said, I'm too afraid to log on.
Yeah.
Because they won't answer me about why they came to that conclusion. I can understand why they might not tell you, because, oh, well, this script was being run or something, or this was done. I don't know. If that was the case, I can understand, but I wasn't running those scripts unless it was a shady add-on that I downloaded. But, oh yeah, I deleted a bunch of add-ons. I only got like a few on, like Questy and TomTom and a couple of the other ones that has been around for like ever. So I don't know. I don't know what else to do. They won't talk to me at all. Because I'll message them saying, hey, I just want to know some other account. I won't lose my other account too. So, because, they keep merging, because I'm talking to them. I want to talk to them about this account, but they're merging this this working account with the non-working account, and they're merging them together, and I'm like, no. I saw this other account. It has something to do with this, but I don't want this account getting panned because this one did. But they keep merging the tickets. And this penalty's already been upheld. Any further requests on this topic were not reviewed. Okay. I'm lost. And then I want to show you what comes up. This action has been taken in accordance with our code of conduct, and it has a link, which all players acknowledge and agree to prior to playing World of Warcraft. I click on it, and you can't see it. Where'd it go? There's OBS, okay. And, boom. Page not found. Yeah, it just says page not found. Okay. I did go read some of the rules and stuff like that, and because I already read them once. They were the same thing, and because I was thinking maybe there was something I could do, but man, they went through that with a fine-tooth comb. There's nothing I can do. So, yeah. I got on my mage, that's my 80, and got some gear. Been doing some dailies, and that's about it. I turned my Star Wars account back on, and I've been turning it on, but haven't really had time to play that, so I'm hoping to get some time on it this weekend. But I think once the hardcore servers come out, I think I might be doing some hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy that a lot.
Yeah. And in fact, you haven't really been doing much hardcore because the hardcore servers are going to come out, and so you really haven't done anything.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot yet. I just haven't. I need to log on it, but I just don't know if the hardcore servers, when they come out, if people are still going to play on this one, or if it's going to even count when I level it. Because it could take me until until hardcore servers come out, because they're supposed to come out sometime this year. They said midsummer maybe. So it may take me till then. I may just go ahead and try to level them up as well and get some more practice on the hunter. But I don't know. I need to. I also want to. I'm also going to start maybe streaming a playthrough of Death Knight.
Yeah. I thought you were doing that the other night. Did you not jump on your...
No, I didn't. I ended up getting busy doing a couple other things and didn't log on to it.
Okay. All right, so let's go to news. I got banned. Oh, that's not news. Okay. BlizzCon 2023 dates revealed November 3rd and 4th, which is usually right after Halloween, because some people say they're traveling on Halloween to BlizzCon. So that sounds about right. This is the first time in 4 years that they will have a physical BlizzCon, once again by the Anaheim Convention Center in Anaheim, California. For those planning to attend in person, you could book a reservation at Blizz-approved hotel blocks to ensure a legendary experience. I would like to reserve, but I don't know if I'm going to get a ticket. You know? So, like, why would I pay for a hotel block when I don't even know if I get a ticket?
Oh, they're going to be back to show next. They're going to be back. Let's see. They're going to be back with more details about the show next month, including ticketing information, cosplay, and other competition details.
So we got to wait for more details. All right, so we can move on to the developer notes updated for Rathaluchki Classic PTR 3.4.2. Now they updated it. The Rathaluchki public test room has been updated with a new build. Below you'll find this week's testing focus and information on additional bug fixes and adjustments. This is build 49652, May 18th, 2023. Now, the Isle of Conquest is part of the testing focus. Please join the WoW Classic dev team for a special brawl with the Blues playtest May 18th at 2 p.m., which by the time we're doing this was yesterday. You may queue for Isle of Conquest via your PvP menu by pressing H in-game or clicking on the PvP icon in the microbar. We've updated the vendors outside the Violet Citadel in Dalaran with item level 232 gear from Ulduar and Furious Glider PvP gear to facilitate testing. Trial of the Grand Crusader testing will once again resume on May 19th at 11 a.m. PDT. It will run until May 22nd at 11 a.m. So that's right now.
Mm-hmm.
You will receive a Lua error message when adjusting a setting within the options menu while performing it. What? I was logged on to a different account. Hold on. I gotta do something now. Robert's account just got logged on and it kicked me off.
Robert's account for what?
I got Robert's account a while back ago. It just logged on. It kicked me off. And I can't tell them about that because then they'll say this action has been upheld. Any further things on this topic will not be reviewed. I guess I'll open the ticket on this one. Maybe they'll review it. Known issues, you will receive a LUA error message when adjusting a setting within the options menu while performing a search. I can't even think straight now. Bug fixes and gameplay adjustments. General adjustments have been made to the acquisition rate of both Emblems of Triumph and Trophy of the Crusade and Trial of the Crusader and Trial of the Grand Crusader. An additional trophy of the Crusade will now drop from each boss in 25 player raids. Cool. The number of Emblems of Triumph obtained from each boss in 25 player raids has increased by 2. The number of Emblems of Triumph obtained from each boss in 10 player raids have been increased by 1. And the notes with normal and heroic versions of Trial of the Crusader sharing a lockout in Wrath Classic, a total number of trophies of the Crusade and Emblems of Triumph available each week was decreased. These adjustments are meant to bring the acquisition rate of both resources on par to what it would have been in original Wrath of the Lich King. The number of emblems dropped was not increased to perfectly match what was possible to obtain from the raid on a weekly basis in 2009, as there are now other opportunities outside the raid to obtain these emblems, namely from the Daily Heroic Satchel when the Daily Heroic Dungeon is completed on Defense Protocol Beta difficulty. It fixed an issue causing threat generated by healing to not be correctly split between multiple enemy targets. Fix an issue in Trial of the Crusader and Trial of the Grand Crusader where the environment art outside of the Colosseum play space would disappear when the player camera was zoomed out. Fix several safe spots where players could avoid the light and dark orbs during the Twin Valkyrie encounter. Fix an issue that caused raid cooldowns to inconsistently reset after the Beast of Northrend encounter. Fix an issue that caused I know the word, I just can't say it. Abunarak's leeching swarm ability to not consistently deal its full damage on heroic difficulty. Fix an issue where enemies in Trial of the Grand Crusader would display incorrect health values in the UI after the difficulty was changed from normal to heroic. Fix a display issue that prevented the message notifying players that they have been saved to Trial of the Crusader from appearing in the chat window. Fix a visual bug where the minimap of Crusader's Colosseum would sometimes appear bright green and displayed level area would change to the icy depths. And then the user interface fixed various issues with the new options menu, including missing options or buttons. Fix a crash caused by viewing meeting stone tooltips in a German language client. So, does that help you out, Eddie?
I haven't done PTR,
Yeah,
so
I
really,
haven't either.
it doesn't really tell me. I mean, I understand what it's doing and I understand what it fixed, because I know the encounters, but I haven't done PTR to actually check it out.
Do I want to do PTR? I used to kind of want to. Not really, but I really don't want to now. Sorry.
True.
Sorry, I just been a loyal customer since vanilla. And to lose all
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
So, and yeah. Anyways, so are you ready to talk about the first 3 bosses in Trial of the Crusade?
Yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go kind of back to what we used to do here, and we're going to talk about a dungeon, or in this case, a raid. And it's going to be the next raid that comes out with the next patch, which is the Trial of the Crusade, and Trial of the Grand Crusade, which is 25 man. Of course, everybody knows by now that there's both a heroic mode or hard mode, but there's both a heroic mode and a normal mode that you can do on each one. Now, you can't do a 10 man and do all normal, then go over, turn around and do all heroic. You can switch back and forth between each one on each boss. So you can find the Trial of the Crusade, which is it's in Ice Crown, and it's right above Syndragos's Fall. There's a little area right above Syndragos's Fall, right next to the wall, which is where the Trial of the Crusade is going to be located at. Now, there's 6 different bosses. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 different encounters in Trial of the Crusade. You're going to encounter your Beast of Northrend, which there's going to be 3 of those. There's going to be Gormak the Impaler, Acid Maw and Dreadscale, and then there's also going to be Ice Howl. And that's your first encounter. You got to fight all 3 of those. We'll talk about them here in a moment. I'm just going to kind of tell you what the bosses are right now, but they come in waves. After you kill the first one, then the next one will come. After you kill those, then the third one will come, and so on and so forth. Now, after you defeat those, you'll go to Lord Jaraxxus. Lord Jaraxxus is going to be your second encounter. After Lord Jaraxxus, you're going to come to a Faction Champions. Faction Champions are 5, I think, PvP. More or less, it's a PvP fight. So you'll come up to Faction Champions, then you'll come to Twin Valkyrs after that. Then after you kill Twin Valkyrs, you'll drop down into the lower area and you'll fight a Nuvarak. So we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the Beast of Northrend and Lord Jaraxxus. We're going to talk about each one of them. We're going to talk about what the abilities that they do, and we're going to talk about the mechanics, and then we're going to talk about the strategy for them. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the first one, which will be Cormac the Impaler. We'll talk about him, and then we'll talk about what his abilities and mechanics are, and then we'll talk about the strategy behind it. And then we'll go to Acid Maw and Dreadscale and so forth and so on until we get those 3 done, and then we'll talk about Lord Jaraxxus. So, with that being said, you have the Beast of Northrend. The Beast of Northrend, this encounter consists of 3 consecutive fights. In normal mode, each fight begins only after the previous one is complete. In heroic mode, each new fight begins on a timer regardless of whether the previous enemies are defeated or they're still alive. So I guess you might be able to do ultra super hard mode and have all 3 of them come out one after another and just fight them all at the same time, which that would be dumb and you would die and then everybody would laugh at you. So Gormak the Impaler.
They're all gonna
Gormak
laugh
the
at
Impaler.
you.
They're all going to laugh at you. Gormak the Impaler is a centaur-looking, big 4-legged thing with a human body, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a magnetar is what it is. And he has the following abilities. He has Impale. It deals strong physical damage to the tank and applies a stackable debuff that deals physical damage every 2 seconds. The debuff lasts 30 seconds in 10-player mode, 40 seconds in 25-player normal mode, and 45 seconds in the 25-player heroic mode, used every 10 seconds. So then he does a staggering stomp. It deals considerable physical damage to all players within 15 yards of Gormok, interrupts spells, and prevents spell casting for 8 seconds. He also has snowballed vassals. They sit on Gormok's back, and periodically they'll jump down and attack the raid. Firebomb from these. Snowballed vassals throw a bomb at random players. It creates a patch of fire on the ground that deals considerable fire damage to all players within 8 yards. They also do snowballed, which the snowballed jumps onto the head of a random player and keeps attacking that player. They do a head crack, which stuns the target player for 2 seconds. And they do a batter, which deals moderate physical damage, interrupts spells, and prevents spell casting for 5 seconds. So those are the things that he does. Now let's talk about the strategy for Gormok the Impaler. You're going to need 2 tanks. It is required for Gormok. 3 tanks can be used in 25-player mode. Tanks must swap by taunting the boss after one of them reaches 3 stacks of the debuff applied by Impale. So that's going to be very important. You want to switch after 3 stacks, because once you get 3 stacks, you're going to be taking a considerable amount of damage. Plus, you don't want to take his physical hits, because it could be very bad for the tank. Ranged players and healers should spread out in a semicircle around 20 yards from Gormok. This ensures 3 objectives. Now remember the staggering stomp. If you're 20 yards out, you'll stay out of range of the staggering stomp, so you won't get stunned, you won't get silenced. You should not stand too close to each other to minimize the firebombs that the snowballs are throwing at you. So you want to make sure that you're using your range check. And I would even use 10 yards. Even though it's 8 yards, I would use 10 just to make sure that you're out of range of anybody else besides you. And then, let's see here. Casters should not be too far away from melee players who can help kill snowballs jumping on them. So you'll want to stay 20 yards out, but you'll want to, at that 20-yard range, you'll still be able to have any kind of melee that you have come out and help with the snowballs. Now, the snowballs cannot be killed by any sort of AoE. They have to be single targeted, and they have to be targeted down that way. Snowballs must quickly be killed as soon as they jump onto players, otherwise they significantly impair the raid's healing and damage output. One thing to note is paladins can use Hand of Protection on the tank affected by Impale to remove the debuff. This makes sense after Gormok dies. So when Gormok dies, you use it. It takes it off of him, so he's ready for the next encounter. So pretty much Gormok the Impaler is just exactly that. 2 tank. You switch tanks after 3 stacks. Ranged, stay spread out around him, 20 yards. Don't stand within 8 yards of each other while you're spreading out the 20 yards. And then snowballs need to be killed as soon as they jump on the player, because they will do bad things to the player. After you kill him in 10-player mode, normal, few, maybe, I want to say it's like 10 seconds, 15 seconds goes through. And then you have 2 jewelmongers appear. Those are the big worms. I call these poop worms. It's Acid Maw and Dreadscale. They enter the fight simultaneously at the same time. Each jewelmonger has 2 possible states, either mobile and stationary. In the mobile state, they can move and chase the tank. In the stationary state, they remain in place and use ranged attacks. The fight starts with Dreadscale in his mobile state on the right and Acid Maw in his stationary state on the left. Periodically, the jewelmongers burrow and swap their states. Acid Maw and Dreadscale both have abilities. They enrage. If one of the jewelmongers dies, the other one increases its damage by 50%. In the mobile state, Slime Pool is a poison cloud appears under the jewelmonger. It slowly grows in size. Think about in Nax, the guy that you fought that put down the poisons every once in a while, and they just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. But they grow in size, deals considerable nature damage to players standing in it, lasts 30 seconds in normal mode, 45 seconds in 10-player heroic mode, and 60 seconds in 25-player heroic mode. So you're looking at 30 seconds no matter what. In the stationary state, Sweep deals considerable physical damage to all players within 15 yards of the Jumonger and knocks them back. Now, that's what they can both do. They also each have individual things that they do. Dreadscale has the following abilities. In the mobile state, he has Burning Bite. It deals considerable fire damage to the tank and applies a debuff that deals moderate fire damage every 2 seconds to all players within 10 yards of the tank. So if the tank gets Burning Bite, stay the hell away from him. Molten Spew deals considerable fire damage to players in a cone in front of Dreadscale. So you'll always want to have him turned away from the raid. That's when he's mobile. Now, if he's stationary, he does what they call a Burning Spray, which deals considerable fire damage to a random player and to all players within 10 yards of the targeted one. Applies to each one of them a debuff that deals moderate fire damage every 2 seconds to all players within 10 yards. So again, a 10-yard range is great to stay away from each other so you're not stacked up together. Now remember though, this is why he's stationary. And also Fire Spit, which deals considerable fire damage to a player in a cone in front of Dreadscale. Acid Maw has these abilities. In the mobile state, he has a Paralytic Bite. Deals considerable nature damage to the tank and applies a debuff that deals additional nature damage and reduces movement speed by 10% every 5 seconds. Exposure to Burning Bite removes that debuff. So if you remember, we were talking about Burning Bite, which is what Dreadscale does when he's in his mobile state. All of this will make sense before long. Acid Spew, now mind you, this is while Acid Maw is mobile. Acid Spew deals considerable nature damage to players in a cone in front of Acid Maw. So again, same thing that tanks have learned from the very beginning of the game, always turn things away from the raid. Because they have a cone effect, it'll hit them, it can kill you. Now in a stationary state, Paralytic Spray deals considerable nature damage to a random player and to all players within 10 yards of the targeted one, applies to them a debuff that deals additional nature damage, and reduces movement speed by 10% every 5 seconds. Now that's 10% every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Now if you think about it, at what? Every 5 seconds, 10%, you get up to 100%, you can't move. It doesn't take that long. 5 seconds is not that long to take 10% away from you. Before long, you're going to not be able to move and you're going to be stuck in place. Exposure to Burning Bite removes the debuff. So it's starting to make sense now. Acid Spit deals considerable nature damage to a player in a cone in front of Acid Maw. Now we're going to talk about the strategy for Acid Maw and Dreadscale. 2 tanks are required for the fight. Both Jumongers should always be tanked regardless of their state. Always keep the Jumongers facing away from the raid, as I've stated, to minimize the damage from Acid Spew, Molten Spew, Acid Spit, and Fire Spit. The Jumonger, which is in the mobile state, should be periodically moved from the slime pool. The raid must spread out to minimize the effects of Paralytic Spray and Burning Spray. Paralytic Spray, of course, it deals the nature damage. Burning Spray deals the fire damage and applies a debuff. Ranged players and healers should keep their distance from the stationary Jumonger to avoid sweep. Players affected by Paralytic Spray should move close to a player affected by Burning Bite, which is the tank on Dreadscale, or Burning Spray to get rid of the debuff. So what you have to do is, if you get the Paralytic Spray, you need to get to the tank that is tanking Dreadscale, get next to him, so the Burning Bite or the flame debuff burns the acid more or less off of you, is what they're getting at.
Yeah.
So it just it counteracts the acid, the nature damage, and it'll get rid of the debuff. The tank that is on Dreadscale will always get the Burning Bite, either the Burning Bite or the Burning Spray. It should always be the tank.
Yeah.
It is best to focus all damage on Acid Maw to kill him first, then proceed killing Dreadscale. Now, when you kill Acid Maw, Dreadscale is going to enrage and do 50% more damage, but you would rather have Dreadscale doing that than Acid Maw, because if Acid Maw does it, you have no way of removing the debuff of the acid. So pretty soon your whole entire raid will be just stuck in place. So you always want to kill him first. Usually what you can do is you can just put all damage on Acid Maw, down him as soon as possible. Keep your tank on dread scale, and anybody who gets the debuff just runs to the tank on dread scale and cleanses themselves. Your tank should never turn dread scale or acid maw around towards the raid because they will do the frontal cone that can spray on the raid. It's best that the DPS runs towards the tank, and the tank either turns him to the left or the right a little bit to catch up to you, so you can get the debuff off quicker. It's just it's a hard fight. It is, but you get used to it. You get used to what you're supposed to do, and it becomes real easy. The third one we're going to talk about now. Remember, this is only the first boss. This is just 3 phases of the first boss.
Oh.
Now, after you kill them, Ice Howl will come out. After a little bit of time, Ice Howl appears.
Yeah.
He has quite a few things he does as well. He has Whirl, which Ice Howl spins, dealing considerable physical damage to all players within 15 yards, knocking them backwards. He also does Arctic Breath. Ice Howl turns towards a random player and deals considerable frost damage to all players in a cone in front of him over 5 seconds, stunning affected players for the duration. Periodically, Ice Howl uses the following combination of abilities. Massive Crash. Ice Howl jumps to the center of the arena and deals considerable physical damage to all players, knocking them back towards the walls and stunning them there. He'll do a Ferocious Butt. Ice Howl turns towards a random player and prepares to charge. At this point, all players can move and receive a speed buff. After a few seconds, Ice Howl charges to the spot where the targeted player initially stood, dealing massive physical damage to any player in the way. I will tell you right now, if you stand there and get hit by that, it's a one-shot. You will die. It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter if you're a tank or a healer, or if you pop in it, you're going to die. In the story, you're going to die. He does Frothing Rage. If Ice Howl is able to hit at least one player with Ferocious Butt, he increases physical damage and attack speed by 50% for 15 seconds. So not only does he kill you, then he's swinging 50% faster and doing 50% more damage for 15 seconds, which can wipe the raid again. If Ice Howl does not hit any players with this Ferocious Butt, he hits the wall instead, gets stunned, and takes increased damage for 5 seconds. So what he'll do is if he misses you, he'll hit the wall, he'll stand there like he's dumb, and you just do your dirty to him, and he dies.
I'm good at that.
So here's kind of the strategy for what you're talking about with this guy. This guy is super simple. One tank is required for Ice Howl. It is best to keep him near the center of the arena. The raid should spread out around Ice Howl to minimize the chance of getting hit by Arctic Breath and Ferocious Butt. So you just spread out in a big circle around him. Ranged players and healers should keep their distance from the boss to avoid Whirl. Melee players can also stay at maximum melee range to avoid this effect. He must have a pretty big hitbox if you can stay out of the effect, because I do believe, what was it? What did it say here? He does Whirl, which is a 15-yard range. So you can stay 15 yards away from him as a melee and still hit him to avoid the Whirl. That's pretty nice. Healers should always keep the raid at high percentages of health to avoid deaths from Arctic Breath and Massive Crash. Each time after Massive Crash is used, everyone must move away from the direction of Ferocious Butt. If Ice Howl manages to hit someone with this Ferocious Butt and gains Frothing Rage, the effects can be removed from him by hunters with Tranquilizing Shot. Tranquilizing Shot always removes any kind of a rage effect. So what it is, the biggest thing to worry about is his Massive Crash. The Ferocious Butt Massive Crash combination. Because what he's going to do is he's going to jump to the center of the arena, which should already be there, so you shouldn't have to worry about it in the first place. And he's going to knock everyone to the wall. You're all going to be stunned for a couple seconds. At that time, you got to wait. He'll choose somebody, and he'll turn towards them, and he'll start running towards them.
Yeah.
If you are that person, you must immediately turn to your left or right and run directly away from where you're at.
Everybody
that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean run straight and then turn left. It doesn't mean curve left or curve right. It means turn around and run. You have enough time. You get a buff, a movement buff. You'll have time, plenty of time to get out of it. If everybody does that, he hits the wall. He gets himself stunned. He takes increased damage. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Then you get to the loot table, and I'm not gonna go and tell you what all he drops.
Yeah, we don't do that no more.
We're not doing that. You guys can go and look that up.
Yep.
There's Atlas loot. There's plenty of Wowhead. We'll tell you all their things. So just remember again, it's 3 different phases for this guy. For the first one, it's Gormak the Impaler. We talked about it. Acid Maw and Dreadscale, Poopworms, and then Ice Howl. After those are done, that's the first bosses. You get those killed, you get to face Lord Jaraxxus. He is the Eredar Lord of the Burning Legion. Remember, he tells you that all the time when you talk to him at the very beginning of when TBC's out. Is it TBC? I think it's TBC. Do you want me to talk about his, or do you want to bring all of it up and talk about it?
I'll let you do.
Okay. Alright, so Lord Jaraxxus is going to be your second encountered boss. He has quite a few abilities, and the strategy is a little bit different, but we're going to talk about it. The biggest thing to know is that there's a little gnome in there who tells you he's going to summon. I'm going to summon this blah 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 blah, and he ends up summoning a demon. So, Nether Power. Jaraxxus applies a stackable buff to himself, increasing his magic damage by 20% per stack. He does a Fell Fireball. Deals strong fire damage to the tank. Also applies to the tank a debuff that deals additional fire damage every second for 5 seconds. Takes 2.5 seconds to cast. Well, I don't know that it can be interrupted, but it might be able to. I have to check into that. Fell Lightning deals considerable fire damage to a random player. Can jump to nearby players multiple times. So that's like a chain lightning.
Some of this is coming to me. It's been a while.
Yeah. Legion Flame. Jaraxxus applies to a random player a debuff that deals moderate fire damage every second for 6 seconds. Each tick of the debuff drops a patch of fire on the ground under the affected player, 3-yard radius, that deals additional fire damage to any player standing in it. So that means don't run to your raid. Don't run directly into your raid. Run away from them. But we'll talk about it. He also does Incinerate Flesh. Jaraxxus applies to a random player a debuff that lasts 12 seconds and has several effects. Decreases the affected player's damage by 50%. Absorbs a certain amount of healing taken. 30,000 in 10-player normal. 40,000 in 10-player heroic. 60,000 in 25-player normal. And 85,000 in 25-player heroic. The debuff gets removed if the required amount of healing is received. So if you get that debuff in regular 10-player mode, you have to heal that person 30,000 before they even start getting heals. Because then it decreases their damage by 50%. He also does Burning Inferno. If Incinerate Flesh is not removed before it expires, deals moderate fire damage every 5 seconds to the entire raid. So if you don't remove that debuff from that one person, your entire raid is fixing to die.
Ooh.
He does another portal. A portal appears on the ground. It has several features. Deals considerable shadow damage to players within 10 yards of the portal. A Mistress of Pain spawns from the portal and attacks the raid. You know, she's the little chick with the slash.
Yeah.
But we can't call her that. We can't call her a chick anymore. We have to be PC now. She is body type number 2. Spinning Pain Spike.
You have to say number 1.
Is she body type number? Is it body type number 1?
Yeah, women are body type number 1.
Oh, okay. Well, she's body type. It's body type number 1. I shouldn't use any kind of pronouns because I'm assuming her gender.
Or numbers.
Or numbers.
You can't say, oh, they're number 1, they're number 2, because I'd be like,
right?
I'd be number 20.
Right.
Body type.
It does a spinning pain spike, charges into a random player, dealing damage equal to 50% of the player's maximum health, or Mistress's Kiss. Applies to a player a debuff that deals considerable shadow damage if the affected player attempts to cast a spell with a cast time. So you can't do anything but cast spells. Also preventing spells from the same school of magic for 8 seconds and it lasts 15 seconds. In normal mode, the portal despawns on its own. In heroic mode, it must be destroyed by players, otherwise it keeps spawning more Mistresses of Pain. Fun. That's not it.
Yeah.
It also does an infernal eruption. A volcano appears on the ground and it has several features. Deals considerable fire damage to players within 10 yards of the volcano. 3 Fell Flame Infernals spawn from the volcano and attack the raid. They do Fell Streak, deals moderate fire damage to the tank. Fell Inferno. Fell Flame Infernal jumps to a random player and casts a spell that deals moderate fire damage to all players within 15 yards of that spot every second for 6 seconds. In normal mode, the volcano despawns on its own. In heroic mode, it must be destroyed by players, otherwise it's going to keep giving you Fell Flame Infernals. In heroic mode, Jaraxxus has an extra ability. He has Touch of Jaraxxus. Jaraxxus applies to a random player a debuff that deals moderate shadow damage every second for 12 seconds. Additionally, applies to all players within 4 yards of the affected one a curse that deals moderate shadow damage every second for 15 seconds. I know that's a lot of stuff, a ton of stuff. You'll have to see it in order to really understand it, but I want to give you a little bit of heads up of what you're going through. Here's the strategy for Lord Jaraxxus. 1 tank only is required for Jaraxxus. The raid should spread out to minimize the damage from Fell Lightning, Legion Flame, and Fell Inferno. Whenever Jaraxxus buffs himself with stacks of Nether power, those must be quickly stolen by mages with spell steal or just dispelled by priests or shamans. So, mages are going to get Nether power, which is going to make them do ridiculous damage if they steal it, because it increases magic damage by 20% per stack. If you have mages just grabbing that and they get a couple of stacks, hell hath no fury like a mage with extra magic damage. Also, casts of Fell Fireball must be interrupted. The debuff can be dispelled from the tank. So Fell Fireball can be interrupted. Everybody has an interrupt. You should be able to do it. Players affected by Legion Flame should move towards the wall and keep running until the debuff expires. Nobody should step into the fire on the ground. So what that means is if you get that, you run straight to the wall and you just hug the wall. Run to the left or the right. Don't run into your raid. Just run straight back to the wall and then run left or right on the wall so that fire follows you until it ends, then get back to your spot and continue doing what you were doing. Do not step in the fire. It does do damage. It does not give you a buff, contrary to popular belief. Each time Incinerate Flesh is applied, healers must quickly use their spells on the affected player, preventing Burning Inferno. Each time a new Nether portal opens or a new infernal eruption begins, in heroic mode, the portal of the volcano must quickly be destroyed. Otherwise, it's going to spawn more ads. Mistress to Pain or Fellfire Infernals must be picked up by an off tank and killed by the raid. So you're still going to have 2 tanks in here. The off tank is just going to be standing around with his thumb in his butt until one of these days come out. Move away from the Fell Flame Infernals when they use the Fell Infernal. Players affected by Mistress's Kiss can get rid of the debuff by casting a spell from a school of magic, which they normally don't use. So if you're a mage, you're fire, frostfire, whatever, bust your arcane spell out, you don't have to worry about it. I'm a druid, so that's going to suck because mine are either arcane or nature.
Yeah.
And I use both of them quite a bit. I may have to use a healing spell if it's I'm going to check and see. I may just have to toss out a small healing spell, something like that. We'll see. But Lord Jaraxxus he sounds hard, and it sounds like there's a lot of things, which there is a lot of things to navigate and figure out. But Lord Jaraxxus goes down rather quickly when your mages start spell stealing the nether power. Because if you can get two mages to get that stacked up 2 or 3 times a piece, that's anywhere from 20 to 60% more magic damage that they're going to do.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
mages, I mean, priests and shamans, yeah, they can get rid of it if the mages aren't spell stealing it. But mages are going to want to spell steal that, and you're going to watch mages soar on damage in that fight.
Yeah.
They're going to straight mollywop Jiraxis.
So maybe I want to keep playing on this other mage.
Yeah, mages are going to be good with that spell steal for sure, for sure. So that's the Beast of Northrend and Lord Jiraxis. The next one that we do, the next podcast that we do, we're going to talk about the faction champions, the Twin Valkyr, and Anub Arak.
Yeah, and I will keep you up to date next next week on what happens with what just happened tonight.
Yeah,
with my counts.
Yeah, hopefully they're not going anywhere either. But TOC is going to be fun. It's a lot of fun actually, and
well, I do want to play.
I
do want to play Ice Crown. I might just take the chance and yeah, I might. I did send you a Battle.net friend request on that one, so if you see it come on, let me know.
Yeah, I got it. I just hadn't done anything with it yet.
Okay. I logged off too, so you let me know if it comes on.
Yeah, I did. It showed up. I'll let you know for sure. If it,
I won't log on to it for a few days, because when I do log on, I'll probably log on to the mage, since mages are gonna be kick ass.
Yeah. But yeah, the next time we'll talk about faction champions, Twin Valkyr, and Anub Arak. Those are going to be the last 3.
And my tickets.
Well, like I said, faction champion and his tickets. Faction champions are
and any new other news. Hopefully, we'll know more about when tickets go on sale and stuff like that. So, yep. So,
maybe just maybe we might be able to go.
Yeah, I'm hoping. But until next week, enjoy playing the game.
As always.